Welcome to the seminar, What's New in QuarkXPress 9. I'm Dan Logan, Product Manager on the QuarkXPress team, and over the next 45 minutes we're going to look at a bunch of cool new features that can help streamline your workflow and introduce you to new ways of publishing digitally from QuarkXPress. Now, I'm sure most of you watching today are QuarkXPress veterans, but there are always a few people out there just trying to figure out what this Quark thing is all about. So let's have a real quick review. QuarkXPress is a software tool for publishers and designers to create richly designed documents. QuarkXPress is all about control. It's about controlling every aspect of the presentation of a document. The contents for these documents usually comes from other applications like text and data from Microsoft Office or pictures from Photoshop or Illustrator or other graphics editing applications. QuarkXPress can import file formats like DocX, XLSX, XML, PDF, Photoshop PSD, Illustrator AI, TIFF, JPEG PNG, any graphic or content-based file format that you might be using, and many others. While most QuarkXPress documents are created for print production, more and more people are using QuarkXPress to design pages for electronic delivery, like ebooks and tablet apps, and we're going to talk about that a lot today. So let's get started. Our primary goal when we started planning QuarkXPress 9 was to reduce the non-creative manual work that goes into layout production by providing designers more automation features for building smart documents that can adapt to content changes. The trick was we wanted to make sure that we did it in a way that maintains all of the precise control that QuarkXPress is known for. Designers are control freaks, and designers don't want to give up that control in order to get the efficiencies of automation. So during planning, we called this goal design-driven automation. So let's take a look at some automation. In QuarkXPress 9, you'll notice a new palette under the Window menu called Conditional Styles. Conditional styles are essentially behaviors that automatically apply formatting through style sheets based on the content of a text run. I'll just zoom in on an area of our document that has some unformatted text. I'm going to select all, and on the Conditional Styles palette, I'm going to click the Product Line Conditional Style. And you'll notice that immediately it applied a number of different formatting treatments to this run of text. Creating conditional styles is easy. First, you just set up the style sheets that you want it to apply. Then, on the Conditional Styles palette, click New. In this case, I'm going to click Edit on the existing product line conditional style that we have. You can see here that a conditional style is simply made up of a series of actions. Now, each action can do, let me zoom in a little bit. Each action can do one of two things. It can either apply a style sheet, or it can go to a particular area of text. It can go target some area so that it can apply formatting to it. In the case of apply, which is what you'll do most of the time, you tell it the style sheet that you want to apply. Tell it the scope. How far do you want to apply that style? Do you want it to go up to the condition and stop? Do you want it to apply the style through the end of the condition? A cool thing that it can do is actually go backwards to a condition. This is useful when you want to format at the end of something, like the last sentence in a story or paragraph, or go all the way to the end of this article and format just the little article ending character that we put. So we can go anywhere in a text flow and apply formatting in either direction. Then you need to specify the condition that you're actually detecting. These are typical, attributes of the content itself, such as a specific character, or at a word or phrase, or a number that could be, any number. It can detect structures of sentences and paragraphs, so go to the end of the paragraph or the end of a sentence or the beginning, things like that. So you can see that the way we built this one is pretty simple. If we look at our text over here, we're applying our header style sheet through the first instance of a character tab, /T is the escape sequence for tab. Just like in the Find Change palette, you can paste special characters in here to get their code. That goes up to this divider here. Then apply the numbers style through the end of that paragraph, which is the end of this line here. Then apply our body style sheet up to text. Now text is like a string, it's a phrase. In this case, our string is just 3 dots, 3 periods in a row, ... a little ellipse here, which is our section dividing character. So apply body up to that condition. Then finally apply the ellipse style through the end of that last paragraph, which is just this line here. Finally, we have a repeated sequence, so we can tell it to repeat the conditional style at a particular condition. You can choose also, the same as up above between text, character, repeat at every paragraph, or in this case, repeat at conditional style marker. So conditional style marker is a new zero width invisible character that we let you insert when there's no other delimiter within the actual text for you to key off of, and sometimes you have to manually put a character in there to initiate a condition, and that's the conditional style marker. In Invisibles, it's a little upright with a tail on the bottom. So the cool thing about conditional styles is that they dynamically update while you're typing or while you're editing the condition. So for example, if we want to enter a new section in here, I'll just hit return. I'll type in the conditional style marker. That will give me, I'll turn off Invisibles, our robot name. I'll put in the tab and enter my revenue data. Oh, I have to put a number in there. 5 million. Enter. Now it gives us our body style, and put some gibberish in there until I get to the end of my section, ... enter, and it formatted that correctly. So we really think conditional styles is going to save you a lot of time. They're really fun to work with, and we're really excited to get this feature out there. Let's look at the next feature under the design-driven automation category, and that is callouts. The callouts feature lets you anchor items into text in ways that were never previously possible, including the ability to anchor items outside of the text flow, as in the example that we see here where we have these graphs that need to follow the text from page to page, but they don't actually sit within the text box here. Callouts lets you do that. It's really easy to set up. The first thing that you do is just insert a callout anchor. The anchor is the position that it's going to follow within the text. So we just right-click in the text and select callout anchor, insert callout anchor. With guides on, it will show us a little flag indicating that that's our callout anchor position. This one is outlined in red, telling me that that is the selected anchor. Then I just need to link a box to that position. So in this case, I'm going to select a group, go to callout anchor, associate with callout anchor, and it will attach that box to the selected callout anchor. The last thing we need to do is tell it how it should position itself relative to the callout anchor. And that's really easy. We just go down to callout anchor, edit callout settings. And here we have a lot of choices to define specifically how it positions itself. We can do horizontal and vertical positioning separately. So we want to align the callout, which again is the group box, horizontally relative to the page. Whatever page that it's on, we want the inside edge of the callout, meaning the edge closest to the spine, to align horizontally with the inside margin guide over here. And you can define an offset value. We don't want it to offset, we want it to abut that line. And then vertically, we want, in this case, for the callout to align vertically relative to the anchor, the position of the text itself. And we want the callout box's top edge to align with the text descent of the line with the anchor. Again, no offset. Allow manual positioning of callout allows you to drag the callout box in the layout, and if you do, QuarkXPress will automatically remember the distance that you dragged it and store that as offset values here in the dialog. So if you want a little bit of manual mouse control on that, you can get it. Keep within margins. If that's checked, the callout cannot extend outside the margin area of the spread, which is really handy. So I'll click OK. And you'll see it did move a little bit. It updated itself to match the attributes that I just defined in there. And when I zoom out and insert some text in here, you'll see that this graph is following the paragraph that it is associated to. When it hits the margin, it stopped, and when the text breaks to the other page, the callout box goes with it. So this one's going to be enormously useful for people who are setting long documents, books, technical reports, and things like that. Let's look at the third feature under design-driven automation, which is bullets and numbers. On this page I have some text that was created in Microsoft Word, so I'm just going to import that file. It's a docx file. I'm going to go ahead and bring in its formatting. And when I zoom in, I can see that this text has an outline applied to it. There are automatically numbered and bulleted paragraphs in here. Previously, we could import text like this, but we would transform that leading character just into static text. In QuarkXPress 9, you can see when I hit a return, it actually gives me that dynamic leading character, and as I add and remove paragraphs, it automatically renumbers my outline structure. We approached this feature with two priorities. One, it had to be highly compatible with Microsoft Word. We have a lot of customers who are editing text in Word, want to get in and out of Microsoft Word and QuarkXPress without destroying structures like this. Second, it must give the designer the formatting control that they expect from QuarkXPress. If we select all of this text and I just open up the Style Sheets palette, we'll reapply that Our Vision outline, and you can see that now I have my formatted leading characters and the color and the font and the offset and all of that I want. I can change the level of each paragraph in my outline hierarchy with the increase and decrease indent buttons down here at the bottom of the measurements palette. So for example, if I select 1B and I set it to first level, it turns into 2. There's my back to second level, and third level is a bullet, and it will update all of that dynamically. So like I said, we wanted to offer the precise design control that you expect from Quark. So Bullets and Numbers is fully integrated with Style Sheets and all the formatting that's available in QuarkXPress. In fact, we've added a new class of project resources called Bullet, Numbering, and Outline Styles, which you'll find under the Edit menu. This is where I actually define the rules for how this feature works. I can create, for example, a numbering style. I give it a name. The character style sheet that I want to apply to the numbering characters that it puts in there, or I can inherit that automatically from the base paragraph. The formatting of my numbering sequence, I can have numbers, Roman numerals, A, B, C, D, and so on. A prefix or a suffix. In this case, I actually have a dot delimiter in there, and that was entered as a suffix. The size, do you want to scale the size of that character beyond what is applied to the base text of the paragraph? The outset value, right, how much does it hang from the natural margin of that column, and then does it align itself? Pretty standard stuff. Once you've created some bullet and numbering styles, then you can put them all together into an outline style. So if we look at the outline style that's applied in our example here, Our Vision, you'll see an outline style is just a list of references to bullet and number styles, one for each level in your outline hierarchy. You can define an indent value for that level, and then things like include lower level separator. You can see in our example here, on the second level where it says 1.a, we included the 1 from the higher level on A, B, C, D, and that's this option, include lower level separator, which is only on, in our case, for level 2. Once you have that all set up, you can apply these styles to text in the Paragraph Attributes dialog or on the Paragraph tab of the Measurements palette. And then if you want to globally change the appearance of these characters, you do it through style sheets or the bullet numbering styles. Okay, let's take a look at a tables feature. This is kind of a design feature even though it deals with tables. So sometimes you have a case where you have a long table that won't fit on a page. This one does fit. Let's say we wanted this to not be so tall and we want to break it over to this other page. That used to be a little difficult in QuarkXPress. You could kind of do it, but it was tricky to use. In version 9, we totally changed how this works to make it a lot easier. I'll just move that over. Now, when you want to break a table, what you first do is set up a chain of linked text boxes. So in this case, we have two text boxes here. I need to anchor the table, so I'm just going to cut it onto the clipboard, and then I'll paste it into my text flow. Now, the area of the table and where it breaks is defined by the text boxes that it's contained in. So if this table runs out of space, it's automatically going to break over here to the next instance. If I go into the table properties dialog, you'll see the options that we have available here. By default now we continue anchored tables. And if you have repeated header or footer rows, as in this case I have two header rows, I can just enter that, click OK, and it will repeat that header across each instance of the table. You can also do things like, you may have seen the continued header option in there. That lets you have different content in the header cells in the continued instances. So for example, you could say Spectra Fund continued on everything but the first instance. Another tables enhancement in version 9 is the ability to import Excel files in the .xlsx format. So if you import Excel files into Quark, you can now use the latest and greatest format from Microsoft. The next feature I want to look at is called ShapeMaker. ShapeMaker is essentially a wizard for creating complex shapes that are difficult to draw with the pen tool. In this case, I want to modify this column of text to make it kind of wavy. So I'm going to select that text box, go to the Utilities menu, down to ShapeMaker, and I get a number of options here. I can create different shape types like polygons, which include stars, spirals, rectangles, so I can do things like rounded or beveled corners on just 1, 2, or 3 sides of a box. In this case, I want to do a wave, so I'll go to the Wave tab. And I just define the shape by manipulating the different parameters of the shape, and it'll give me a live preview over here. So I set the frequency, I want it to be kind of subtle, do not too much. Right, the phase is which kind of direction it starts with. I want it to go right from the bottom. The amplitude, how much? Whoa, I like subtlety, so it's just a little bit. And I'm going to click the option Alter Current Box, which tells it to change this guy, not create a new box. When I click Create, then I get my wavy text column. There are quite a few features that I don't have time today to show you in demo form, so let's go back to the slides and take a look at those. Story Editor. This is a long requested feature that we ported over from our CopyDesk product to provide a formatting neutral word processing like window for editing text independently of the layout. This is useful in cases when the text is difficult to read, or if you have a complex linked chain of text boxes. It lets you edit that text independently of that rich layout view. Linkster is a tool for linking and unlinking text boxes in a bunch of ways not previously possible. Like, for example, you can now link multiple text boxes that already contain text, or unlink stories without affecting the text flow. Leave the text in the boxes that it's in, just unlink everything. The image grid dialog helps you import sets of images into well-formatted grids. This is a pretty common layout task. Cloner lets you quickly copy boxes across multiple page ranges. So for example, paste this box to page 1 through 10. or even copy whole pages between layouts or create new layouts. It's the best way to duplicate items or pages. We made some tweaks to the Style Sheets palette in version 9 to let you do new things like overriding local formatting without disturbing certain type styles like bold or italic, for example, or applying the next style attribute across a range of existing text. When you get it, check out all the new options in the context menu on the Style Sheets palette, and if you're the type of person who uses Style Sheets, you'll be really glad to see these options. We have the new Lock Proportions attribute for boxes and pictures. This helps you maintain the aspect ratio of those items even if you're resizing them by entering numbers into the Measurements palette or the Modify dialog. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about digital publishing. The iPad really has transformed the way that people think of publishing. Moving forward, most publishers want to create design-rich, engaging, interactive content in order to extend their brand, generate new revenue streams, and reach new customers. Publishers come in all different shapes and sizes and capabilities and document types, and there's no one solution that's appropriate for everyone. So we've diversified our digital publishing efforts to ensure the most flexibility for our customers. I'm going to go through 3 different solutions for creating digital publications in QuarkXPress 9, starting with App Studio for QuarkXPress. We'll start with the one that everyone's talking about. Whether you're converting an existing print document or designing from scratch for the iPad, App Studio for QuarkXPress makes it as simple as tagging boxes in your layout with any of the pre-configured interactive behaviors. Let's take a look. I'm going to switch over to the iOS simulator, and this is where we can test iPad apps. The example that we're going to look at here is Blag magazine out of the UK. They're a music and film interview magazine. Blag's priority was to allow their graphic designer to control every aspect of the app's presentation using the same tools they use for their print version. And this is what they created. A beautiful digital magazine on the iPad. It has multiple covers here. We've got a little welcome animation video. This was created in QuarkXPress interactive layout, actually. Here's our table of contents, and each of these, obviously is a hyperlink to that specific article. We have a page thumbnail scrubber up at the top, so you can browse through the document. Blag wanted to use vertical page stacks for each article, so we support that through section starts within QuarkXPress. Here's a page with a slideshow, and it has options for automatically panning and zooming around in the image, sort of gives some affordance to the reader that that's an interactive element. You can actually go in there and manually flick between those different slides. Blag is an interview magazine, so they have a lot of pull quotes and things like that. They wanted to include those as audio samples in their digital magazine. So here's one, an interview with Slash, and the reader can click on that.
Well, there's this obsession with age where everything's got to be young.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that lately.
Hear the pull quote be spoken and expanded on. Of course, video is an important part of digital publishing, so this has video capabilities as well. Some of the articles.
I wanted to be someone who was well-rounded, and
we can switch into full screen view, use the shuttle controls, play different areas of the video. And of course it handles orientation switching as well. When the reader switches the device, we can switch between different layouts. They use a 2-column layout for their horizontal presentation. App Studio can even do web views and pop-up windows. Let's take a look at some pop-up windows. Here they run an A through Z feature where they feature a different product or destination for each letter of the alphabet, and they built those using pop-ups. Okay, so let's take a look at how this was created in QuarkXPress. As you can see, this is a standard QuarkXPress project. It contains two layouts, one for my vertical and one for my horizontal orientations. The designer can use any of the features available in QuarkXPress, including pictures and graphics produced for the print version. Once I have the basic design of the publication, I can begin to tag the interactive elements for my app. All of the interactive tagging is done on the App Studio palette, which you'll find under the Window menu. I'll just go ahead and turn off the horizontal view. Let's take a look at how we built the slideshow. All of the interactive behaviors in App Studio are added to picture boxes. So wherever you want interactivity or multimedia to occur, you just want to draw a picture box in that location. So we have our picture box. On the App Studio palette, we can pick from the various interactive behaviors. In this case, we want a slideshow. We just want a simple slideshow. We could also do slideshow with thumbnails. In this case, we only have 3 images, so we'll do a simple one. For each interactive behavior, there are basically 2 things you need to do. The first is to point to the source of the content for that multimedia. So in this case, we want to find the images for our slideshow. So we'll just click the File button, find our pictures, and there they are. For each frame in the slideshow, I can specify 2 different crops if I want. One to show here in the rich layout view, in the slideshow view, the other for if the user switches into full screen view on that image. So like I said, the first step is to get the content. The second step is to set up the parameters of that particular interactive behavior. So for example, whether or not full screen is allowed. The user can double tap on the image and get full screen view. Whether or not they can manually scroll, whether or not the page controller should be shown. Things like that, even down to whether or not it automatically animates and how to actually execute that pan and zoom effect that we saw. If we go back to the first panel on the App Studio palette, we'll just look at the other behaviors that are available. The picture interactive type lets me tell the reader that the image can go into full screen view when the reader double taps on it. So that's a nice feature to include. Of course, movies are video files. We looked at that in the simulator, as well as audio. Buttons are basically regions of the page that when clicked on do various interactive actions, such as going to another page, going to a website, or opening a pop-up window. So, as you can see, it's fast and easy to add interactive multimedia to your publication with App Studio. When I'm all done, I'll just export an issue file and publish it to my app. App Studio will be available 90 days after the release of QuarkXPress 9.0 and will be a standard feature of QuarkXPress. So that will be a free upgrade, of course, for all QuarkXPress 9 users. Okay, let's go back to the slides for a second. Another part of App Studio that we need to talk about is the app configuration tool. This allows designers to create and apply custom branding to their app. You can create your own app icon, name, and look and feel, and we'll, excuse me, we'll compile an app for you to submit to the App Store, and you can sell your issues via that app through in-app purchasing on the App Store. You'll still need to provide your own Apple developer account, and there is an extra fee for the app configuration. Depending on the capabilities you choose, it will run between $50 and $500 for the app. But the good news is you'll never need to launch Xcode, and we'll walk you through the entire app submission process in the included documentation. So this is definitely a feature that is created for designers, not for developers necessarily. Now, once you're ready to publish issues, there's also an issue setup fee, which activates it on our issue management portal. This is an online service that tells the app what issues are available and where they're stored, as well as keeping track of which issues were purchased by each customer. So this issue setup fee is $349 per issue, or you can get discounts by buying multiple issue packs that you use throughout a year. Once you pay the setup fee, though, there are no recurring or monthly fees and no fees per download beyond what you pay to your hosting provider. So compared to other pricing models for digital publishing, you'll find ours to definitely be a very economic choice. And no commitment, and we don't charge based on the download or the revenue. So we're really excited about App Studio, and we think it provides the easiest, most cost-effective way to publish to the iPad. The second component of our digital publishing solution is Bleo. Bleo is a cross-platform, rich layout ebook reader currently available on Windows and soon on Mac, iPad, iPhone, and Android. Bleo is the easiest path to digital publishing of books and magazines because you don't have to worry about the app itself. The app part is developed and distributed by Bleo. The publisher only has to produce the books and submit them to the Bleo store, which is powered by Baker & Taylor, one of the largest media distributors in the world. Bleo books use the XPS format from Microsoft, so they can contain all of the rich layout features available in QuarkXPress, plus they can be enriched with interactive behaviors similar to what we saw for App Studio, for example, slideshows, video, and online web views. So let's take a look at how you produce a Bleo book in QuarkXPress. Typically, you'll start a Bleo book with the same files that you use to produce the print version of the book. The first thing we're going to do to prepare it for the Bleo reader is to set up the metadata. Under the Layout menu, you'll find the new ebook metadata dialog, and in there you'll enter the usual stuff: title, author, publisher, and so on. Then we want to set up the table of contents that will populate the table of contents pop-up menu in the Bleo reader. To do that, we'll go to the window menu, go down to Bleo table of contents, and what we want to do on this palette is add an entry for every item that we want to show up in that pop-up control. So I'll just click New, I'll give it a name, give it a page number, and then when the reader selects these options from the table of contents menu, it'll go to that page in the book. The cool thing about Bleo books is the interactivity that you can apply to them. Similar to what we saw in App Studio, I can tag boxes in my layout with interactive behaviors. So the concept of tagging is similar to what we saw in App Studio, but for Bleo we're going to use the Bleo interactivity dialog. We'll right click, go down to Digital Publishing, Bleo Interactivity, or we could press Command Option Shift I. And in here we need to just select the interactive behavior that we want to apply. Let's say we want to do a slideshow. For each of those we need to find the source of the content, similar to what we did for the iPad. So I'll just click Attach. And let's see, where's our slideshow for this guy? It's in here. So I'm going to pick the directory that contains the images that I want to populate into this slideshow. And that's all I have to do. The other interactive behaviors available for Bleo are video players and then web views. And for the web view, it can either be embedded HTML. That would be for cases where you want to do some sort of interaction that is not one of our default interactions, so you want to implement it via HTML, but you don't want to host it. You want it to actually be embedded into the ebook. Or URL, which is a web view that is hosted and can be updated dynamically. As in the case in this book, we put a web view on the last page that shows the events and specials page from the Palm Restaurant's website. So once we're done with that, click OK, and that's it. Now I just need to export my file by going to Export Layout as Bleo ebook, and QuarkXPress will create a self-contained XPS file that is optimized for the Bleo e-reader. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at our book in the Blio e-reader. I just need to switch over to Windows machine via remote desktop real quick. This reader ought to be out for the Mac by the time you guys get this software. So here's our Palm Cookbook in the library view. There's the metadata that we entered in QuarkXPress, or some of it is shown in this view. We'll open it up. There's the cover, page 1 of our document, and it looks just as good as any output would. Here's the table of contents control that we created these entries on the palette in QuarkXPress. There are various views that you can select in the Blio reader. We'll go into thumbnail view. You can see here's all of our pages, and with all the typography that we set in Quark. Here's the slideshow that we tagged in the Blio interactivity dialog. Here's a video that we didn't actually look at tagging this one.
Baghdad on the subway. That's what O. Henry called New York, the town where East...
So, it really adds to be able to include video media in your book. We have the page thumbnail scrubber down at the bottom, and I'll go all the way to the end, and we'll take a look at that web view. So this page is actually served over the Palm Restaurant's website, and will always show us the latest and greatest specials and events. Okay. The third component of digital publishing in QuarkXPress 9 is the reflow view. Some ebook formats, like EPUB for instance, don't care about all this layout information that you do in QuarkXPress. These formats typically want to display content based on the preferences of the reader. Things like font face, size, and color can all be controlled by the consumer of the content, meaning that we don't know exactly what the document will look like or exactly how it will flow or line break. We call this type of document reflow content, and it can even be used by special views within an App Studio issue or a Blio ebook. EPUB is an industry standard reflow format. QuarkXPress 9 adds a new dedicated reflow workspace for setting up content for reflow formats like EPUB. This is called the reflow view. It's a separate window from your normal rich layout view, and it shows the text and picture content that has been tagged for inclusion in reflow as a single linear text run that wraps based on the width of the window, similar to how it would display in a reflow e-reader. In reflow view, your main task is to use the reflow tagging palette to tag each paragraph based on its semantic meaning and to ensure that each article component is in the correct order. The tags available on this palette allow you to differentiate between different types of text, like body copy versus headlines versus captions, bylines, etc. Each tag shows up here with slightly different formatting, but that's really just for preview purposes. When we export, each of these tags will map to a class in the CSS file, and if you really want to control formatting, you can go in and edit the CSS file after exporting your EPUB file. You also use this reflow tagging palette to change the order of the article components where necessary, because again, this story now is a single linear flow of content. Once I'm done preparing all of the text, I can include it in an App Studio issue or a Blio ebook export. Blio Reader does have a reflow view. Or I can export a standalone EPUB file that includes my first page rendered as a cover image, along with all of the metadata from the ebook metadata dialog, as well as a table of contents that's generated from the structure of the reflow tagging palette. That's generated from the structure of the articles on the reflow tagging palette. Let's go to slides and look at some of these output. So here's our file in iBooks on the iPad. This is the cover rendering and the table of contents. Here is the inside of our book, still in iBooks. This is the same thing, this time in the Barnes & Noble reader on Mac. And here's the version in the Sony e-reader for Mac. Now, these are going to look a little different on dedicated e-ink devices, these ebook reading devices like the Sony reader, the Nook, and so on. But this is just to give you an illustration of how EPUB really does render differently in each different context. On the Mac side, QuarkXPress 9 will run on Leopard or Snow Leopard. We are requiring a Intel-based processor this time around on the Mac side. And on Windows, we're still supporting Windows XP, Windows Vista, and Windows 7. So, thanks again for coming to our e-seminar. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and see QuarkXPress 9 today. And I'm really excited for my favorite part, which is seeing all of the cool work that you guys are going to create. Thanks for coming out. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.